Hi, everybody. My name is Aomawa, and I am a compulsive debtor and a business owner. It is so wonderful to see so many familiar faces. This was a very important meeting to me for a long time. And one of the gifts of the current situation is that I've been able to attend this particular meeting, even though I no longer live in LA. To say right off the bat, I've definitely noticing some effects of living in a zone that's affected by fires. So there'll probably be a lot of clearing of my throat. One of the ways that I start my day is as soon as I wake up, I thank God for my gifts, for being alive, for my health, the health of my husband and my daughter. And then I say the 3rd step prayer and the 7th step prayer. And I ask God for knowledge of his will for me and for the awareness, willingness, and courage to carry it out. And yesterday I said a prayer, an extra prayer for families who were most directly affected by the events of nearly 20 years ago that catapulted this country, the country of the United States and many countries around the world, into fear. And then I said another prayer for people whose lives and homes were directly affected by the fires that are raging in the state that I live in. And you know, then I became grateful, so grateful that I am in a 12-step program. This 12-step program and all other 12-step programs, grateful that they exist because they give me a guaranteed opportunity to practice faith and gratitude on a daily basis. And without that opportunity, I might live in hopelessness and despair. But because of these rooms, I know that I have a choice. And the choice is to live in faith and to have gratitude for the abundance, the profound abundance that exists in my life today. So I came in here February 12th, 2005, and I came into your meeting, this meeting. And I am a daughter of an unrecovered compulsive debtor. I grew up fielding phone calls from creditors for my mother. I had gone into, so I also grew up in a family that was severely affected by the disease of alcoholism. And so my Al-Anon and DA issues are very much linked and tied. I would debt to make others happy. I would send money to my mother that I didn't have in the form of cash advances from my credit cards. I would get her credit cards, and then when she maxed them out, I would rush to pay them back and then close them. And then I had my father, on the other hand, on the other side of things, who had some credit issues when he was in his 20s and had cleaned it up. Now is a very self-supporting artist and musician, and pays for everything with cash and has 6-figure retirement accounts. And so I had this sort of like very significant financial responsibility on one hand, and then a mother who just never learned how to save and had a professorship, a faculty job for over 20 years and lived paycheck to paycheck. And so, and I was kind of caught between those worlds of like, I debted to feel good. I debted when I felt bad, and I debted when I felt good. And it wasn't just enough to get 1 CD, it was 10 CDs. And I got my first credit card the first week of college. There was a little kiosk, and I signed up for the little Visa card that had the $500 maximum, and I maxed that out within weeks. And that led to another credit card and another credit card. But then I had that guilt of like, I'm going to pay it back. I'm going to pay it back. I'm going to pay it back. But because I wasn't taking care of myself, that's the first 5. Thank you. I would inevitably get back into debt because I wasn't observing the hierarchy of the numbers book and our spending plans, where spiritual is at the top and debt payments at the bottom. And there are all these things between before I get to debt payment. And I didn't know how to do that. So I got into the rooms. I'd had 6 years in Al-Anon at the time, and my Al-Anon sponsor had started going to DA and BDA. And I asked her, and I noticed that I was often sharing money issues with her. And I finally asked her, she would share occasionally things that she was learning in the program without actually telling me, get your ass to a DA meeting. But finally, I became willing to ask her to save me a seat. And she literally saved me a seat at the Miracle Mile meeting. At the time, it was further east on Wilshire. And I sat there and I cried and I listened to people share about going all over the world and paying cash for these trips. And I thought they were insane. But I thought that there's just one chance that they're not insane. I need to keep coming back. And so I went up to someone after the meeting and I said, I know I'm in the right place. What do I do? And she said, get yourself a little spiral notebook. I still have these today. And this is, I'm a very technical person, which I'll tell you about, but I use analog as my first stop for keeping my numbers, because I know that if whatever, like however high end the system, if I don't use it, it's completely useless to me. And so this is the easiest way that I can keep track, because I always have this notebook with me in my purse and I can just write down. And she said, write down, if you pick up a penny on the street, write it down as a gift from God. If you pay for a bagel and cream cheese, $1.35, write that down. And I did. I kept my numbers from that very first day. I haven't kept them perfectly throughout the years, but I've kept them. And when I had a couple months of numbers, I had my first PRG. I thought they would tell me to stop going out to eat, stop doing anything that I considered fun. And instead they said, buy yourself flowers, get a massage every month, stop putting Supreme gas in your Hyundai Accent. Because for some reason I was doing that. And then, I took a service commitment. So at the time this meeting had, and it still does, I know when you meet in person, you have breakfast and it's abundant. And at the time we had like dishes that needed to be cleaned. And so there was a rinser, there was a washer and a rinser and a dryer, and the rinser couldn't finish their commitment. So I took it. And back in that kitchen, that was like the meeting after the meeting where we were talking about, how do you do your numbers and who do you get for a PRG? And are you going to that SoCal DA workshop? And then I took the timer commitment, and then the literature commitment, and on. And that's like, I knew from my first program that if I didn't participate, I wasn't going to keep coming back. And that allowed me to feel a part of and to get involved. I got a sponsor, worked the first 3 steps with that sponsor. And then when she couldn't continue with her sponsees, I got another sponsor who I finished the steps with, and she's still my sponsor today. And she is still my sponsor today because she still lets me be her sponsee. She lets me call her, and because she still has what I want, which is a spiritual approach to living and working and being in the world. So through this program, so much has happened. I came in here with a bachelor's degree in science, but I was struggling to be an actor and under-earning in a nonprofit job. And through the program, people in the room said, did you like that thing you got that bachelor's degree in? Because you could probably make a better living or have a better day job doing that than your under-earning cultural nonprofit job. And just that single question changed the course of my life. I've learned here that, and I heard it in the rooms, my higher power is not limited by my lack of imagination. Because I thought there's no way, like I have the science thing and I've got this acting thing, and there's no way I can combine the two. I have to choose. But more was revealed, and I ended up hosting a science show that I could not have planned that. That fell into my lap because I'd taken a better paying day job using my science background. And I hosted that show, and that led to, you know, really becoming willing to go back and get my PhD in this field. And I did that without debting. 5 years of grad school without debting. And that was PRG after PRG. I got paid to go to grad school. And, you know, fellowships and, you know, have no debt from that graduate degree. The credit card debt I had when I came in here got paid off over 11 years ago. And my life didn't change much as a result because I hadn't been depriving myself. I was doing things, taking vacations, paying cash. My husband and I went to Italy, lavish trip for 2 weeks through PRGs. And the debt got paid off slowly but surely. I still have some student loan debt from an earlier degree before DA, but I know that will get paid off too, slowly but surely, and not at the expense of living an abundant life. So I ended up taking a faculty position. I'm now a tenured professor, and that is an incredible miracle of this program and of showing up consistently day by day. And I'm still learning what that means, tenure, because I've worked so hard in many ways for very long. And the Al-Anon parts of me that love to people please, it worked very well on the tenure track where you have to do a lot of things. And now I get to learn what being tenured, which is having the professional freedom to do what I want and have that job security, you know, without fear of professional ramifications, and being able to say, no, I don't want to do that thing that you're asking me to do. I'd like to do this thing because it's more in line with my values and with my vision. I don't think I would have the willingness to learn how to do that if I hadn't learned here in DA how to have a vision, how to pursue a vision. You know, my husband and I were married for about 12 years before we began to entertain the idea of seriously of having a child. And we had all these reasons for not pursuing that, you know, financial stability and this and that and moving around a lot. And then little by little, all the reasons were kind of chipped away at, and it became, do you want to or not? Like that was the question. And I wasn't sure. So I kept coming to the Miracle Mile meeting, and they would pass the childcare can. And I thought, I don't know if I want to have a kid, but other people made that choice and have kids, so I'm going to put $1 in the can. And I just kept putting $1 in the can for months and months. And eventually the fog cleared, and the awareness of what I wanted began to rise up into my consciousness. And I have an almost 3-year-old today, and she is like the biggest manifestation of abundance of this program. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I look around and I know that many people are on the visions, in the visions retreat this weekend. My home office is covered in my vision boards through the years. And I look around and like, she's on almost every vision board. She was on the very first vision board. And to know that, like, yes, I got all of those material possessions those were on early vision boards, you know, like the laptop and the and the iPod and all that. But she is the biggest manifestation of abundance that I could ever have put on a vision board. And I didn't even realize how she was going to manifest. And the thing is, I didn't know. I didn't have to know. I don't have to know. My higher power knows. And I'll just wrap up with, you know, I always wanted to write a book. And a couple weeks ago, I participated in an auction for my book. And all of these publishing companies were in the middle of an auction to buy my book. And I walked through that stage with a fellow in this program who had been through it, who had was a published prolific author and who talked with me for hours about this whole process. And I sold my book, and now I have to write it. and it was an abundant amount, and I'm still wrapping my head around that. PRGs are going to have to help me, so I don't spend that money before I have it, because I'm a debtor. But like that, the vision just keeps getting bigger. The vision just keeps getting bigger, and my higher power says, you know, are you ready for that? Are you ready for this? Here's this now. And I, as my sponsor has shared with me, my job is just to show up. It's not my job to judge the quality of what I do. And so I get to just show up at the computer or at the page and write the thing and ask for help, as I always have from fellows who have gone before, who have done it before. I don't have to know all the answers. I'm not supposed to. It's a we program. So I am so profoundly grateful for the life that I have today, and for all of the people specifically in this room who have helped me to be willing to embrace that life and to take the steps to get it. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thanks for letting me share.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh my God.